Good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in the world. Talent Finders would like to welcome entrepreneur and M&A advisor Karen Bennett, an MBA and CM and AA. So welcome, Karen.
Thank you so much for having me, Karen. It's a pleasure being here.
So, Karen, I'd firstly like to congratulate you on all your achievements. So, can you share with us how your entrepreneurial journey started?
Yeah, it's a really great question. I would say that my current rendition of being an entrepreneur started this past April in 2022. That said, I think my entrepreneurial journey started initially with my parents back when I was a youngster.
Yes.
They had their own businesses, and both of my parents were what we would call today self-made business people. Um, who created their own path and made opportunities for others around them as well.
That's amazing. So, your expertise is in banking and finance, and you expanded into manufacturing and technology. So, please, can you share with us more about this? And was this an organic process for you? And what was your inspiration or motivation for going in that direction?
So I'll say absolutely, it was very organic process for me. And I would say that I have moved and I have adapted in my career tremendously.
Yes.
It didn't start out that way. I did get my start in banking, and it was a very purposeful intention to start in banking. And at the time, I believed I would go up that traditional career ladder. Changes happened, and I was forced to adapt. And I fought it for quite a long time, actually, because I was always very disappointed in myself, putting myself down for not having that traditional career path. But that changed during the pandemic. And suddenly everyone's career, everyone's life was turned upside down and put through the grinder and spit back out again. So
Yeah.
I felt like everyone had caught up with me.
Yes.
Uh, and so being non-traditional suddenly and being adaptive, being fluid was now suddenly a tremendous strength. And I rose and prospered.
That's amazing. So, within your career, I guess past or current, what would you say have been some of your biggest lessons within your career? And I know you probably had multiple, but what really stands out for you?
I think the number one is got to be adaptation. I've already been saying that I've had to adapt several times. Granted, it was forced adaptation at
Yes.
first, forced to not have that traditional career path, forced to make a career where doors weren't open for me, forced to find my own way, forced to figure it out. There's a lot of force there.
Yes.
But finally, I caught on and started adapting. Those hard experiences, though, are now the foundation of my success, I believe.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
diamonds are made under pressure.
Absolutely. So would you say that this helped you or gave you more confidence in what you were doing? Because I know very often people, one of the biggest things, well, maybe I don't want to generalize, but a lot of women struggle with is confidence. So would you say that that also helped you with your confidence?
I would say at first, no, I actually was lacking a great deal of confidence because I wasn't going down that traditional career path because I didn't have those traditional bells and whistles, as it were. And I had to find another way. I
Yes.
knew I had it within me, but everyone else didn't see it. So, how to make it such that everyone else could see it was the challenging part. And that was the adaptation.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to talk about the world of investing, mergers and acquisitions. So I want to specifically talk about women and why in a multi-billion dollar industry, less than 5% of female founders are funded. Yeah.
Absolutely. Those are really sad numbers, aren't they?
Oh, terrible. And it's not from a victim perspective, because it's
Yeah.
easy to fall into that trap, but it is a shocking statistic.
It is a shocking statistic. And you're right. It's not coming from a place of victim. There are, I would say, two primary answers to this question. And the first is the one that we are just talking about. I mean, women are not primarily funded because they are women. There is a strong bias, and I will have to say I think it's an unconscious bias. That women cannot be successful in business because they're too consumed with their domestic duties. Um,
Yes.
and I really want to say I think there's actually a lot of truth to this. And I know that that's going to probably ruffle some feathers by saying that. Hear me out. Women are unable to compartmentalize, to delegate, to delineate, to
Yes.
separate personal and professional because we're not allowed to.
Mm.
We're not given the space to do that. We're not given permission to do that.
Yeah.
We have to maintain the kids and maintain the business, and we can't drop either of those balls. If we do, we're failures.
Yeah.
Men are given the right to go to work, know that the laundry is going to be done, know that dinner's going to be made, know the kids' homework's going to get done. They don't worry about these things.
No.
When was the last time you didn't worry about the mortgage not getting paid? Every woman thinks about things like that.
Yeah. It's the
Men,
detail. It's actually down to the detail, I think, as well.
that's a really great point, Karen. We have to consume ourselves and maintain those details and manage those details. And we're running all of that in the back of our head while we're also trying to do business. So, for example, right now, I've got a load of laundry in the wash, I've got a load of laundry in the dryer, and I had to take out meat for dinner because it has to defrost so I can make dinner later tonight.
Mm.
My partner in life, who is off today, is he doing any of those things? As much as I love him, is he doing any of those things? Is he thinking about those things?
No.
So there we go. So there's truth in it. There's truth in it.
Yeah.
And I think acknowledging that truth, that is where we are at. And even though our men are often rising more to the occasion than our fathers and grandfathers did, there's still ways to go. And we're still holding the fort and slaying the dragons. And that's a hard thing to do.
Yeah. What do you think has to happen? And not just think, but what actionable things need to happen in order to change this narrative?
I think there's another reason why women aren't funded, and this is maybe one where more this narrative can change. And that second reason is I believe that women are not funded because they do not have the professional connections to get funded. This is very much a case of not what you know, but who you know.
Yeah.
And most funding is done by institutional funders, investment bankers, private equity firms, and those roles are predominantly held by men,
Yeah.
and they are unconsciously biased against women and other minorities in general. And women don't have those connections to people in those roles. If you're busy being a mom, bringing your kid to school, how many other women that you were sitting there talking with and chit-chatting about your children
Mm.
are also working in private equity and also in a senior position, for example? There's just not many of them. Only 23.8% of investment bankers are female. Only
Yeah.
18% of private equity workforce is female. Of that private equity workforce that is female, only 9.4 have leadership, senior or chief level positions in private equity. The numbers just aren't there.
Yeah.
This is where representation is very important. So women not only need to get connected with funders, they also need to connect with funders who see their value to help them showcase, their company and bring it to the marketplace.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as a specialist in the world of investment, as well as mergers and acquisitions, can you share with us how this landscape has changed over the years in your experience since the pandemic?
So let me start by asking you a question first on this one. So, Karen, what does alcohol, jewelry, and funeral homes have in common?
Uh,
They're recession proof.
yeah, true.
So in good times, we celebrate, we drink, we get
Yeah,
married, we buy jewelry, we attend funerals of loved ones that have passed on.
Yeah.
And in bad times, we drink our woes away. The rich buy lots of jewelry, and we attend funerals of loved ones that have passed away.
Yeah.
The point is, some things in life go on no matter what, and other things are seasonal or cyclical, if you will,
Yeah.
just by nature. Investing, mergers and acquisitions in particular, has been going on since the beginning of time, whether it's
Yes.
conquering another land for their resources and ports or buying a company to increase market share. It's the same game, it's just a different approach. So many in the industry thought there'd be a drastic contraction in mergers and acquisitions, especially with the global economy shifting to regional economies. We're going from a global economy to regional, that started became very apparent with the pandemic, as we all know. But yet, here in this too, there's great opportunity. Those of us who want to see this shift or who are seeing this shift are adapting to it and seeing these great opportunities in the M&A space. I see these opportunities. I'm guiding my clients to taking advantage of that evolving landscape. M&A and investing never stops. It just shifts.
Yeah. So we've been through so much since the pandemic. How has the pandemic impacted you both personally and professionally? And what did you do to adapt? And what did you do to pivot your business? And can you give us any examples?
Sure. To everyone, I too have been impacted by the pandemic. As I mentioned previously, I think my ability to adapt has been my greatest strength in getting through this time. Because I had to adapt, to shift, to change so much in the past, I
Yeah.
think I was more accustomed to it when the
Mm.
pandemic came. That said, I'll still say it wasn't easy. On March 20th, 2020, I lost all of my clients. Poof, they all just disappeared.
Wow.
And as a person who's in a high risk category, I found solutions to protecting myself and
Mm.
my household, but going out in public was harder, as the solutions that I needed to protect myself were in the hands of others.
Mm.
Not everyone cared to protect my life. This,
Yeah.
in effect, caused me to be isolated. And between social isolation and lack of clients, I needed to find something in this new world that I could do and be successful at.
Mm.
And it was through a friend I found on a female-only networking group called Fem 500, created by Angelina Prevost. And her program that she offers and the group gave me two things: business focus and social interactions. My social needs were being satisfied. I was now able to get clarity and focus on what I wanted in my business.
Mm.
With that clarity, of course, like I said, came focus. And I stumbled across, I was doing some research and I stumbled across the certification to become a certified mergers and acquisitions advisor. And so I pivoted it's something I always wanted.
Mm.
I had wanted since I was in college, and those doors had been closed on me. Here was my opportunity. And
Yeah,
I took it,
absolutely.
I went for it. And I pivoted my entire focus and business to go after that profession. I passed the test on the first try. I was so excited, pat myself on the back on that one. And very quickly just put the word out there of what I was doing. 8 months later, oh gosh, now it's maybe 9 or 10 months later now that I think about it. Time passes when you're having fun.
Yeah,
Um, I
absolutely.
now have several clients under contract. Matter of fact, at the beginning of the year, the first week I got 3 clients. I got another one last week under contract. So, that effort now is starting to pay off.
That's amazing. So I want to talk about leadership or the lack of leadership from both a global and entrepreneurial perspective. So what would you say makes your leadership style different, and what do you believe needs to change the current narrative?
So I'm going to ask you another question. What is the role of a captain of a ship? Let me ask you even another question. What is the role of the captain of a sports team? The
To
captain of
lead.
a ship, in a nutshell, yeah, right?
Yeah.
But let's drill that down. What does that mean? The captain of a ship has duties and responsibilities that range from managing the crew to the care and maintenance of the ship. I mean, hey, we need this thing to float, right?
Yeah.
And navigation. And all of those are ultimately the captain's responsibility.
Mm.
Now, the role of the captain of a sports team is to know that sport, know how it's played and to lead the team in the execution of the play that they're on the field, to play. However, both captains are also first and foremost leaders. And in order to lead, their primary responsibilities are that of role model, to keep the morale high,
Yes.
especially when facing challenges, and interacting regularly with their team and knowing every team member's abilities, and then, of course, publicly speaking for the team.
Yeah.
The first set of responsibilities are learned often in a structured setting like a school or on a job training, if you will. The other responsibilities are, I would say, based on personality. Different personality types have different leadership qualities, or the way that they go about doing it is what I'm referencing there.
Yeah.
My personal leadership style is relational. I tend to lay out a structure by which my team operates. We have parameters by which we must work. We do have legal guidelines that we have to work within. So I create
Yes.
that structure to make sure that we're not crossing those boundaries. And when we do, we know it and it's corrected behavior or you're out. But the details of how my team works, as long as it's done within the framework, I really don't put a lot of energy into it. So, for example, if the deadline is 8 a.m. tomorrow morning,
Mm.
I don't care if you do the work tonight at 10 to midnight,
Mm.
or if you get up at 4 to 6 in the morning. I don't care. I just care that it's ready to go by 8 a.m. because we have a deadline that the whole team is dependent upon.
Yes.
So I'm also, I would say, more of a macro manager. I definitely do not micromanage.
Yeah, I feel like that's a much better way to lead in terms of that, because micromanaging can be, I don't know, I don't think it's healthy, but that's just my perspective. Yeah.
I would tend to agree. I don't like it. I find it demeaning and diminishing. It's not to say that when somebody is struggling that you're not there in the weeds with them. It's that you're not telling them everything, put this exactly here. This has to be there. That's a little OCD for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I hire adults to do the work.
Yes,
I don't
not
hire
children.
children. I don't hire children. I'm not your mother. You're capable people. And I hired you because you have a brain and you have skill sets, and I expect you to use it. And here's the
Yes.
framework I expect you to use it within and the time frames. Make it so.
Yes, absolutely. So you've worked with some big conglomerates internationally as well as in the US. So do you believe that this gave you a competitive edge in your own business? And what do you believe you do better within your own business?
Hmm. So there's a saying out there that bigger is better.
Mm,
And there's a lot of truth to that. Bigger companies have more resources, both persons and financial resources that they can deploy to
mm,
attain their goals. They offer environments that I would say are relatively stable.
mm.
Uh, and that gives people security and position and financial compensation. I would say that they're also, like I said, able to make very large investments.
Yes.
There's also, though, another saying out there that says the bigger they are, the harder they fall.
Mm.
And there's a lot of truth in that as well. Bigger companies often fail because they are too big.
Yes.
Despite what was said during the big recession back in 2008, 2009, when we bailed out all the banks, too big to fail. There's no such thing as too big to fail. Rome collapsed. Talk about big.
Yes.
Dynasties have collapsed in the past, so you're never too big to fail. Their size robs them of their ability to change, to adapt, if you will, to
Mm.
take advantage of opportunities that they would have gone after if they were smaller. Smaller companies are motivated, they're driven, and they go after these opportunities that large companies just don't bother. I'm seeing it right now in the finance world. A lot of these large banks are pulling away out of the $5 to $15 million range of financing needs that are out there. The smaller regional banks, the smaller investment companies or financiers are coming in and filling that in with much glee and tremendous abilities to do it. What I've learned, though, from these larger conglomerates that I worked with, they did do well, was that they allowed their divisions to work with some level of autonomy.
Yeah.
And that gave them advantages that were found in the smaller companies, like going after those opportunities that the large conglomerate wouldn't otherwise do.
Mm,
They still had also all the benefits of that large company, the resources, the security, so on and so forth.
mm.
So what I realized is that the competitive edge comes with being able to see opportunities, one, and being confident to go after them, two. That's the key aspect that I brought to my business.
Yeah. And so on point, even with the change. It's amazing.
There's always opportunities, Karen. You just
Yeah,
have to shift your
you've just
focus
got to
and
look
find
for
it.
it or create it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what would you say some of your biggest career highlights have been? And you maybe have had multiple again, but what really stands out for you?
There have been a lot. There have been tremendous number. Again, I'm going to go back to, I think the first major adaptation I had to make in my career was during that Great Recession. I was studying for the CPA at the time, and I passed the test, but I was unable to get employment with a CPA firm. And that's important in order to get your CPA license. You actually have to put so many hours underneath somebody else. It's like an apprenticeship, and they
Mm,
sign off on it. And without that, I did not technically get my CPA license, even though I passed the test. Um,
wow.
but I was also just not willing to wait for the economy to get its butt in gear. So I struck out on my own. I quickly ended up doing turnarounds and restructurings. And I helped a number of businesses get through a time period and back up on their feet. I don't know if they would have had the opportunities to get back up on their feet if I hadn't been there, to be
Yeah.
honest. That gave me a lot of pride, knowing that these good companies that were going through economic hard times, I was able to get back up on their feet. I would say after that, the next big accomplishment would be working with that large international conglomerate and their medical division here in the US. I guided them through 11 different acquisitions,
Wow.
doing due diligence, negotiations, close, and integration. So mostly your M&A advisors, they stop after the deal is closed, and I carry on through to the integrations. And that's where I first got my experience, was doing it with this firm. I would say my latest career highlights got to be starting with Diane Advisory Group, my M&A advisory firm that I started.
Mm,
Like I said, in the 8 months I've incorporated, I was successfully engaged in business development. And as I said earlier, the first of the year, I got 3 new clients under contract, just got one last week. I'm working on another one this week to bring under contract. That's 5 just starting off the new year, never mind what I had at the end of last year. So, I'm just rocking and rolling, and I'm just getting started.
well, it's amazing. I love it.
Thank you. I'm loving
Great
it.
energy because the world needs that right now. So pretty
Like I
amazing.
said, there's opportunities even when things start getting, even when things shift. Actually, that's when the opportunities show up. And like I said, I'm just getting started because things are shifting.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to talk about negotiation and what and why do you think that so many people come up short and are weak in negotiation? And why do you believe you are so strong in the art of negotiation? And can you give us any examples of some of your strongest and most successful negotiations? And you probably had many, but the ones that really stand out for you.
So let me set the stage for you. My client is at the table, if you will, and
Mm,
the other side, and they've agreed on the purchase or the sale of a business. Let's just do buy side for the argument. So my client is looking to buy a company. Both sides want this deal. And that is what I keep in my mind the entire time. The sell side wants this deal to be a success as much as the buy side wants it to be a success. And my job to get to yes quickly on all the points that we can immediately agree on. Let's get those out of the way. Those are easy. Now we're on a roll. And then there's parts that there's a gap for some reason, whatever that gap may be. And it's my job to try and close that gap. I already come to the table knowing what my client wants and needs. Now I need to try and understand what the other side wants and needs.
Yes.
And that is how I try and close that gap. And the more of the other side of in this example, the sell side's wants and needs that I can align with my
Mm.
client, the buy side's wants and needs, the quicker I'm going to get to yes. So let me illustrate. I had a recent conversation with someone that I'm working with, and they're buying a company that has secured new government contracts that last 5 years, and they're renewable again for 5 years.
Mm.
And these are federal government contracts, by the way. There's huge tax implications, and the cash flows are significant to the current owner of the company, as well as to my client who's looking to acquire this company.
Yes.
The issue is my client, he wants to get the company for a lower price because he does not value the company at the seller's higher asking price. Because these contracts are new and they significantly impact the business's bottom line, what I'm discussing with the seller is to accept a lesser amount this coming year, and then over the next several years, the remaining would be paid, providing that those contracts pay out, perform as expected.
Yes.
In this industry, we call this an earnout, and it's not uncommon. Now, it's not ideal for the seller, and the seller's not particularly happy about this. He wants all the
Yeah.
money up front. As I pointed out to him, to the seller, any buyer would object to paying this significant money up front without these new contracts performing. There's no history of them performing.
Yeah.
And still things could come up. Things could arise that cause it not to be as lucrative or to even be canceled. I mean, after all, it's the federal government.
Yes.
Things happen. So we're still negotiating out some legal finer points, but I would say that the major obstacles have been overcome. And I wouldn't say that either party is per se happy, but they're ultimately getting what they want.
Yeah. There has to be a compromise, right?
Like I said, the seller's not happy, buyer's not happy because the buyer's going to have to pay more than the buyer really wants, but the buyer's not going to have to pay it until over so many years. The seller's not happy because he's not getting it all up front. He's got to wait.
Yeah.
So nobody's happy. And yet, as I sit there and I said, this is a success for both of you because you are getting what you want.
Yeah.
You're getting this deal done and you're getting it done for what you're asking it for. It will pay out beneficially for both sides. You're getting this deal done.
Yeah.
They have to put their emotions aside and deal with it at this point. At some point, you have to sit there and say, okay, guys, it's time to stop being emotional. It's really quite hilarious when you're saying that to a room of men who are quick to assume that we ladies are the ones that get emotional. Because it's
Yeah, but I
amazing how
think it's
emotional they
also
can get.
money is such an emotive subject within that. So it creates a lot of emotion for people.
Well,
So
as I said, instead of focusing on not being happy, focusing on what you're getting. You're getting this, my buyer's getting this company with these great contracts. The seller's getting paid a lot of money now and a lot of money when this contract performs.
yes.
What do you mean this is a bad day? This is a great day. Everybody's getting what they want. This is
Yeah.
awesome.
It's just not instantaneous.
It's
But
not instantaneous, and it's not the way maybe you think it should be or the way you want it to be. And as I said in the negotiation with my buyer, take those rose-colored glasses off now.
mm,
And let's look at reality. You're going to pay more because these contracts are going to perform. These are extremely lucrative. And if you don't pay, the seller's going to take off and go elsewhere, rightfully so. So
yes.
step up if you want this company.
Yeah, exactly.
It's going to be a great, great buy for them. This is great for them.
That's amazing. Well, you'll have to let us know once it's all done how it goes.
Yeah, I can't wait to say that. I really can't wait to say that. I want to get through these legal technicalities right now.
Yes. So, can you please explain to our audience within your own business the difference between the merger and acquisition process and finding direct investors into businesses for those that don't know? Because there are people that may not really understand the difference between the two.
Yeah, I get that's a lot, and it's understandable because there's a lot of overlap. So let me first say, there are situations where a business owner is looking for investors for other purposes besides acquiring companies. This could be like a startup or looking for seed funding, growth funding, like a Series ABC. Mergers and acquisition is a complete process, and funding is a step on the buy side. Mergers and acquisition funding is for the explicit purpose of investing in a buyer company to acquire a seller company. So these investors are often expect to be bought out of that investment within 3 to 5 years, sometimes even less than that,
Mm.
sometimes even just 1 year. And that is not the same thing as a seed investor or rounds of investing where usually you're getting your money back like in an IPO or when the business sells.
Yeah, no, that's very interesting. That leads me into the final question, which is what are the three key pieces of advice you would give to other entrepreneurs who want to pursue a similar career or people that just want to start their own business, irrespective of what it is? And what legacy would you like to leave, or how would you like to be remembered?
That's a loaded question.
Yes.
Uh,
Some people don't like the word legacy, so it's like, how would you like to be remembered?
yeah. So let's start off with the first part. If you want to start your own M&A firm or any business for that matter, you have to choose to do it and then
Yes,
execute the choice into action.
yes,
There's two big steps there. You make that choice and then you execute it.
yes,
Now, that said, I was actually recently asked in the DM on LinkedIn from a young man this actual very question, very specifically in relation to starting an M&A firm. And based on his profile, I could see he had a great deal of sales background. However, he lacked any formal financial education, degree, or certifications of any kind. In this specific industry, the merger and acquisitions industry, finance industry in general, you need to have a financial background and the education that goes with it. And then there is some level of experience you do need. As much as
yes.
experience as I have, I cannot do these deals alone, Karen.
Oh no,
I
you need other people with strengths in those departments where you don't necessarily have that strength.
very much so. And very specifically, I bring in attorneys, tax accountants, and so forth who can really help me with the details and bring that deal together because those details that's what can make or break a deal.
Yes,
And that knowledge, even though I'm pretty good with the law and I'm fairly good on the tax side, it comes with experience. As educated as I am, my formal education does not compare with the education that I've received over the 25 years of being in the finance world.
yes,
So I would say before striking out on your own, be sure that you have enough abilities within yourself and or professional connections to pull a deal through to that finish line.
yes,
Provided you've got those abilities, the experience, the connections, and you're motivated, you know, and enjoy the responsibilities and the never-ending challenges that come with being the captain of the ship,
yes,
then I say make it so.
absolutely. And what legacy would you like to leave, or how would you like to be remembered?
Oh, I was hoping you wouldn't ask that part. I was avoiding that. Uh, I fight for, I represent, I should say, companies who are owned by people or owners who are coming in who are less seen.
Yes,
These are underrepresented peoples. The doors aren't open for them for any number of reasons, whether it's circumstances in their business that has caused them to trip a little bit, or their background, whether their familial background, their financial background, their business background, whatever it may be. to also their gender and their race, or sexual orientation even.
Mm,
Those things have doors, for whatever reason, have not been open to those people.
mm,
These people are very capable. They are very smart. They're very successful. They're very motivated. They're very driven. They're very capable. I'm not making anything. They're making it.
yes.
And they're struggling to get over that finish line. They just can't get it. Like they've got a strap to their back, holding them back from getting over the finish line.
Yeah.
I cut that strap
Yeah.
and I get them over that finish line
Amazing.
because there's no reason for them not to be.
Yeah.
I don't care what they look like or anything along those lines. And if their financials aren't in order, well, then I'll get them in order.
Yeah.
We've got gaps here, then we fix those gaps, fill those gaps, whatever the case is. We get it done. And
Yeah.
we get them over that finish line because they are winners. They are successful. They are capable. They're visionaries and they're making an impact on this planet and in our societies all over the world.
Mm.
I make it possible for them to do that.
It's amazing.
I guess that's my legacy.
Yeah, well, just supporting and giving back and leading the way. I think it's so critically important, especially when you've been successful in your own right. So I really love it. So thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been wonderful.
If people would like to connect with you, Karen, what are the best platforms or ways to connect with you?
Right. So I'm on LinkedIn, of course,
Yes.
and I also have my website, which is DianeAdvisoryGroup.com. It is not live yet, but will be coming up shortly. The other way is to contact me through email, which is Bennett, BENNETT, as in kangaroo boy at
Yeah.
gmail.com. And my LinkedIn is Karen K. Bennett, MBA. So definitely connect with me there. Or also they can call you Karen and say, how do I get in touch with
Yes.
Karen?
Exactly.
And so there's a lot of ways we could do this.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, and hopefully we can have you back in the future to see where you are in your journey. And yeah, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, when you hear the fat lady singing from the top of her lungs, that'll be me because I closed a bunch of deals.
Amazing.
So you'll know about it. But I'll be sure to give you a text you and let you know, and then we can follow up and see where we're at with it. Looking
Amazing.
forward to it.
Thanks so much.
You're so welcome. I appreciate it again. Thank you, Karen.